Hi guys, welcome to today's video. I wanted to give you 3 basic mental health practices that you can start implementing every day. I was thinking about what to do for today's video and I realized that I haven't really ever talked about maybe things that I do or I try to practice and the most important things that I've learned over the years that have had the most impact on my overall health. The first thing is detachment. Detachment from our thoughts. Now, I totally understand that this can be extremely challenging and it is a practice and it's something that you're going to practice for the rest of your life, but being more mindful of this practice will really help you because we just have too many thoughts every single day. We have too much going on in the mind, we have too much going on in our lives, and when the mind starts to get really cluttered, it can become overwhelming. This is where we tend to get stress, anxiety, panic, worry, all of these things, low self-esteem, insecurities, all of that stuff. And so what we want to start to do is just really slow down a little bit every day. When I start coaching people and they're trying to learn how to take better care of themselves, one of the first things that I tell everyone is just to start slowing down. Make it a point throughout your day to just be a little bit more in tune with yourself and what's actually going on in the mind. For me, I didn't realize that half of the time that I was upset, worried, anxious, not feeling good about myself, it had nothing really to do with the outside. It had to do with me. It had to do with what was the story that was going on in my mind that I didn't even realize that I was feeding. What were the stories that were happening that I was unconsciously ruminating on and thinking about and stressing about? So I didn't understand how to start being a little bit more consciously aware of what it was that I was thinking that was giving me this feeling. Worry, stress, anxiety, insecurity, etc. Meditation is a really good daily practice to start implementing just because it helps you to learn how to observe thoughts, observe those stories, and detach from them. The point of meditating is to be aware that a story is coming in, and the thought is coming in, and it could be anything. I gotta go to Target, I gotta pick up milk, all right, I forgot to pay this bill, we gotta go do this, what if this doesn't happen, and then this ends up, I end up being alone for the rest of my life. Like, all of those thoughts are happening during a meditation practice. The practice is acknowledging that thought and dismissing it, basically saying this isn't, I need to focus on whatever, my breath, listening to the guided meditation that I'm listening to, and what are the words that this person is saying, focusing your mind in a direction versus letting every single thought kind of take hold of you and then you just get so overwhelmed. You have to recognize and accept that your thoughts are just a part of your human experience. You're having a multitude of thoughts every single day and every single moment, and not every thought deserves your attention. So you start to see that you actually have free will. Your free will is your ability to choose whether or not you want to believe something. For me, what has really helped over the years was if I'm getting too entangled in something, I try to just get back to like simplicity of what's going on. In this moment, do I have to worry about this thought, this story that's coming into my mind right now? It's helped me to learn how to be a little bit more present to where I am and what's going on, and that in this moment, I actually don't need to think or worry about anything else other than just being where I am. It's a huge spiritual practice that you'll start to implement when you become a little bit more consciously aware of these things. So understanding that thoughts are translucent, they're going to come and go, they're just going to, not every thought needs you to just constantly pull it down and engage with it. Another really big practice was observing thoughts and not judging thoughts, not thinking every single thought was real, not every single thought was was happening in this moment right now. Not every thought needs to be labeled as good or bad or right or wrong or it's going to happen. What if it doesn't happen? It just is a thought. And again, that's a practice. That's a practice to be able to do that, to be able to see that, detach from it, and understand that it's just a thought, that it's actually not real, and your reaction to the thought is what starts to make it feel as though it's real. Detachment is not about suppression, it's just about giving use some space from the thought so you can see the thought and not just automatically feed the thought. And that's what most of us do unconsciously every single day, almost in every single moment, where thoughts come up and we don't even give that thought any space at all, where we have the opportunity to decide whether or not we want to feed them, we want to believe them. And again, there's going to be a part of you, a wounded part of you, a scared part of you that will want to feed that thought, that will really think that that thought is real. And so even detaching from that part of you and connecting more to almost like your higher self, your intuition, that part of you that does know that it is just a thought and that it's not real. Huge mental health practice right there is just your ability to do that. And again, we're human beings. Are we going to be able to do that in every single moment with every single situation? No. But just the fact that you even have that information, that you have this knowledge, that you understand now that the mind is kind of just like, thoughts are just like a ticket tape and they're just going and going and they're flowing. And basically what you do is you just go, oh, I'm going to grab that. I'm going to worry about that. I'm going to engage with that. I'm going to give that life. And then it creates a problem. So the fact that we even have that information now, it will help you to start slowing down a little bit, especially if you know the specific thoughts that you have that cause the most problems for you. Okay, the next mental health practice that has really changed my life, and it's something that I'm constantly practicing, is, you guys know, is self-parenting. So what does it mean to parent yourself? You might have heard this analogy before in some way, but let me explain it the way I do it and the way I view it. Is you were supposed to receive a certain amount of emotional support, mental support, physical support, and spiritual support growing up. You were supposed to have an understanding, you were supposed to receive it, and then you were supposed to have an understanding of a really good foundation. That way you can grow up to become an adult, you have that foundation, and you go into life pretty doggone healthy. Now, no one gets that. No one gets that beautiful foundation that has absolutely no cracks in it, no holes, no traumas, no bad experiences. We all do, because the grown-ups in our life, the adults that raised us, are humans as well. Even though as a child we don't really see that, but as we grow up we start to see it, where we're like, okay, yeah, so Uncle's not really friendly and happy. He's actually just an alcoholic. So you start to kind of put two and two together and understand, okay, the adults in my life are human and they have their own stuff, and this is what their stuff is. So they were not going to ever be able to give you that foundation with absolutely no cracks in it. But let's say that you got 90% of what you needed. Not only is getting what you need so important, but it's also very important for someone to teach you how to then give yourself that 90%. And that's kind of where I think a lot of people missed that part. And they will like look at their life and say, I didn't have a bad life. I didn't have a bad childhood. I didn't have a bad this. I don't understand why I have these problems. And it's because no one teaches you how to give yourself the 90%. So no one teaches you about the mind. No one teaches you about how to detach. No one teaches you how do you take care of yourself mentally and emotionally. How do you soothe yourself? All of these things you hopefully got when you were growing up. But again, a lot of us don't get everything that we need, and that's okay. But let's just say you did get majority of it. When mom was soothing you at a very young age, there did come a point where she kind of stopped doing it. She's not going to pick you up when you're 22 and start rocking you like a baby and brushing your hair and rubbing your belly. So there was a point where no one really teaches us how to soothe our own selves, how to take care of our own selves, mostly in an emotional way. We're usually taught to sweep how we feel under the rug. It is what it is. We have to move forward, push through, tough love, or this like mental toughness mentality, which is great and it can help in a lot of areas of your life, but it can't be the only thing that you implement, that you do to take care of yourself. There has to be an emotional aspect, because if you don't deal with your emotions, then you suppress them. And if you go straight to that mental, there's always going to be that stuff that's still stuck inside of you that's going to come up, and those are called your triggers. So when a trigger happens, it's because we're not dealing with how something is making us feel, and it's just causing us to be reactive. So self-parenting is the process of learning how to be the adult to yourself. So most of us live our life every single day as a child, really. I mean, you might be a physical adult, but you are essentially mentally and emotionally a child. You get triggered when you don't get what you want, you throw a tantrum, you might just break down, you might self-loathe, you might not feel as though you're enough, you might struggle with low self-esteem. So we all have that kind of childlike likeness in ourselves where we're insecure, we're fearful, we're stressed, we're worried. And that's just a part of being a human being, but you can't live in that space. And that's the problem today, is that everyone is just living from that space and they don't even realize that they're living from that space. That's really the unfortunate thing. So most people live through that space. Being mentally healthy and learning this practice is learning how to become the adult, really become an adult. Again, not just, okay, I can work a job and I can make a lot of money and I know that I need to take a shower and I got to go grocery shopping. All of those things, yes, those are important, but this is the most important thing. And so learning how to have that really good relationship with yourself, where you validate yourself, you soothe yourself, you don't shame yourself, there is no judgment that lives there, you unconditionally accept and love yourself. Those are the things that have the most impact on your life. Those are also the qualities that someone that you know, if they have those qualities, that's the person that you are the most connected to, whether it's your mother, whether it's your father, whether it's your sister, brother, friend, grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever. There are people in your life that give you a lot of those things, and those are the people that you resonate the most with. Those are the people that you want to be around because you feel the love, you feel the connection, you feel the support. That's what you need to be for yourself, because you are with you every single day, every single hour, for the rest of your life. You've always been there. So learning how to be the parent is about learning how to emotionally take care of yourself and also mentally take care of yourself. And I love talking about self-parenting because it's such really a huge, I mean, I don't even have words for it. It's so incredibly important to know how to do this process. I always link my self-parenting course down below. There's coaching options that you can look into down below as well, where you can work with me and take the course at the same time. So if you're interested, again, just look below and you can find all that information. Let's go on to the last thing. So the last thing that I really, really try to practice that has really helped me and changed my life is understanding, and this kind of like a little bit coincides with self-parenting, but it's understanding the difference between what do I want to do versus what should I be doing, what's actually good for me. So want has a lot to do with, if not everything to do with your inner child. This is the part of you that wants something but isn't determining what's actually best for you and whether or not you should be doing something. So we all have desires of things that we want. I want it to be sunny. I don't want to work right now. I want to go have chocolate cake. I want a relationship. I want. But should is another thing. And when we struggle with want versus should, what the struggle is a person that really has no connection, not a really good connection with themselves. They don't really know themselves, have that connection with that inner child, and has practiced how to be that really healthy parent. Because a parent doesn't always really care about what the child just wants to do. The parent is going to do what's best for the child. So that's what you're trying to cultivate more of, is doing what's best for you, what helps you, what's going to give you what you need to be the healthiest, to feel good, to take care of yourself. It's the part of you that's going to have boundaries. So if you struggle with this, or I should say, if you struggle with not feeling really connected to yourself, you don't oftentimes know what you think and how you feel, if you struggle with codependency, this is why, is because there's a want and there's a should, and you're not really doing anything other than just giving yourself what it is that you need or what it is that you want. In order to give yourself what you should be doing or what you should have right now takes practice, takes discipline, and it also takes trust. So the only way a child is going to eventually listen to the parent is because, number one, the parent is very stern on the boundary. I said this, and they're consistent. The parent is consistent with that because the child is pushing and pushing to get what he or she wants. So to be healthy within your own self, there has to be consistency, there has to be boundaries, there has to be, and also the child feels as though on some level that they trust this parent. So there is a point where they just fold and they do know that this is what's best, depending on the age of the child, of course, but they do know that this is best for them, but, and they start to kind of like let that desire go. Again, depending on the age of the child. Obviously, if we're talking about a 2 or 3 year old, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a tantrum. But if we're talking about a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, possibly, at that point, they do know that no, you can't have any more chocolate cake, but they haven't learned how to start taking good care of themselves. And so the parent stepping in to say, no, you cannot have any more chocolate cake, is the parent mirroring healthy boundaries and standards to the child. And eventually, it's going to be up to that child to become an adult to do that for themselves, hold themselves accountable. And they'll learn this all over again, really. They'll learn how to be the parent versus always just giving themselves what they want in every single moment. First off, learning these practices was so incredibly huge for me, but then practicing them and implementing them, it's a daily thing that you do. And some days you're good at it, some days you're not good at it. But I think just understanding the information and knowing what it is that you should be doing is absolutely huge. It's fundamental. Like you didn't take a class in high school. You didn't take a class when you were 12 years old and learn how to do these things. So it's so important at this point in your life to just learn how to do it. No matter what age you are, it doesn't really matter. And if you are a parent or you do want to become a parent someday, this will help you to be an even better parent because it's going to help you to understand just how important it is to be able to teach this stuff to your children. And you can't really teach it to someone else unless you do it yourself. So, a lot of times when people come to me and they're like, look, I've been working on myself forever and like nothing's working. The reason why it's not working is because I think people just don't have an understanding of like what's step 1, what's step 2, how do I do this? Or just honestly practicing one thing at a time and getting really good at that one thing. So you're not going to be able to start just detaching from every single thought. You're not going to be able to just do self-parenting and do every single step so well. It's just about practicing one thing and getting really good at it and making that your focus and then moving on to the next thing. But again, it takes discipline and I don't even know what the word is. Just your ability to say, I choose me. I choose to do this. It's just like working your physical body. Like it has to be a practice and a habit that you do every single day to say, I matter. I need to take the time today to just to slow down, to be a little bit more mindful of myself, to really practice this stuff. And if you do that over time, you will definitely see changes in your overall life, not just how you feel internally. Everything in your life will change once you start doing these things. So I hope this video has helped and I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below, like and share, and I'll see you in the next video.